And I think that might be it. We've only got a couple of cars to come across the line. Then we're going to go into the interval. So I think that might be a lot, Andy. I think that's everyone pretty much across the line. And it looks like, surprise, surprise, it's going to be Riley and Richard on the front row.
Yeah, less than a tenth in it, though. Piers Stockton third, as I said. He's less than 2/10 off pole. And then David Denny fourth and Julian Thomas fifth. So the two Race Logic teammates have got themselves together there. Fourth and fifth on the grid with Ed Bridle at sixth. Jay Shepherd seventh. And Jay Shepherd's another one that's been there or thereabouts, actually, all season. Despite, I'm pretty sure at Alton Park, when we spoke to him earlier in the season, he was telling us all how useless he was at this whole sim racing thing. He's actually been pretty consistent. He's been top 5 or 6 in every race so far. So, yeah, he's up there on the pace as well. And looking to try and maybe get that first podium of the season in the 60-minute race, which is coming up for you all very shortly.
It is indeed. So we are going to take a quick break. Before we do, we will remind you of the championship table. So as you can see up the top, we've got Richard and Riley. They are tied on points, 202 points apiece for them. Jay Shepherd, third in the championship. Julian Thomas, fourth. Then it is Chris Hart in fifth place. That battle for third, very close. But any of those three capable of chasing down the top two as well. Chris Walton is sixth, then it's Ed Worthington in seventh. Mark Home is eighth, David Denyer ninth, and Steve Walton 10th place. So that is the championship. But away from the championship, what we've seen from qualifying, Andy, shows it's going to be a very close race.
Well, I shall do my very best. Let's see if I can remember how this works, shall I? Here we go then. Red lights are on, and we're about to go racing for 60 minutes around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Round number 4 of the Virtual Funcup UK Championship bursts into life. Good start made by Riley Phillips from pole position. Towler tries to go with him in the blue car on the outside line. He can't get alongside the leader, so instead tries to duck in line onto the inside line through Paddock Hill Bend. I think he's held on to second position with Piers Stockton third, then 2 of the 3 Race Logic cars, and there it is. It's happened immediately. There's a car further back, that's Jay Shepherd, I think, bounces back into the middle of the road. And what did I tell you? The chances of contact through the first couple of corners was always high, and it happened inside the top 6 or so. The bulk of the field have got through, but definitely a couple of drivers in strife before they'd even really got out of the first corner. The expected front runners, though, are all still there. Riley Phillips leads them from 30 for the first time. Interestingly, Chris, Richard Towler feeling the pressure here from Piers Stockton and not at the moment able to go with the race leader.
Not at all. I can tell you, I'm just still getting a couple of things set up my end, Andy, so you might have to kill some time for me.
That's okay. There's not the down the hill they go into Hawthorne then for the first time. And yeah, Riley Phillips definitely getting away. But, well, look at this battle. The second, Piers Stockton has gone through ahead of Richard Towler. So Towler is down to third position now. He's got the 2 Race Logic cars behind him of Julian Thomas, David Denyer, in fact, ahead of Julian Thomas in grid order. Denyer fourth, Thomas fifth, then Ed Bridle is sixth, Chris Hart is seventh. He's definitely a driver I expect to see up there fighting for the race win today. Look at the gap that Riley Phillips has got. He's 1.2 seconds clear as they head to the left-hander, the slightly cambered left-hander at Stirling's for the first time, and approach the end of what has been a dramatic opening lap of racing. Tomlinson, I can see, has just picked up a place as well ahead of Chris Walton in ninth position. Out of clear ways we go, though, for the first time. Phillips, the gap ever growing as Richard Towler tries to get this second place away from Piers Stockton. He's up the inside line as they cross the start-finish line. Lap number 1 is in the books. Riley Phillips leads, but it's side by side for second. And Richard Towler is on the inside line this time through Paddock Hill Bend. He's late on the brakes. Oh, he's off! Richard Towler's off into the gravel track. The joint championship leader is off the road. We're on board with him now. I don't think made serious contact with the barriers, but he's dropped right down into 8th position, just ahead of Jay Shepherd, actually, who was involved in that first quarter skirmish. In fact, through goes Jay Shepherd's a 9th position for Richard Towler. Big drama for the joint points leader. 2 races in a row. He had a connection issue at Anglesey last time out, which meant that he had to start from the back of the grid and spent the rest of the evening trying to get himself back into the contention. Eventually finished in 4th place. But he is in even bigger trouble here in a way because the car could have damage. He's a long way down the field. At the time, his big championship rival, Riley Phillips, is scratching away in the lead.
Well, we're just, I believe, going to go on board with Julian Thomas now, who has just dropped down to 4th place. Had just a slight bit of contact there with Chris Bridle, but back with it now. And you can see this is just allowing the top 5 to escape. So already a little bit of drama on the opening lap. And then once again, going through Paddock Hill Bend onto the second lap, just losing the car there we saw, and buried in the gravel was one of the drivers. But we're on board with Julian Thomas. He is sat in 5th place now. He's got Chris Bridle ahead of him. The top 5 all evenly spread out, and then we've got 3.5 seconds back to John Tomlinson, who is in 6th, and then Stephen Fern behind that. Then we've got Jay Shepherd, Richard Towler, and Chris Hart rounding out the top 10.
Shepherd heads out of Clearways through Clark Curve. He's in the slipstream now of John Tomlinson. About 4/10 separating these two drivers, scrapping over 7th place. And Tomlinson still needs to defend into Paddock Hill Bend. Shepherd not quite close enough to attack just yet. Can you see, though, from these on-board pictures, how much the car is moving around in the braking zones, particularly into places like Paddock Hill Bend, where it's bumpy, it's off camber, it's over a rise. The back of the car is trying to step out behind Jay Shepherd. He's handling it well and closing in on Tomlinson so far on this lap. And into Hill Bend. It does worry me, though. He's almost like he's using the grass on the entry to the corner to get the car turned in, because that's twice now in half a lap that he's entered a corner with the right rear on the grass, and he sort of slid his way through the turn. It's working quite well for him. They closed in on Tomlinson, back onto the Grand Prix circuit they go again. With 10 minutes now elapsed in the 60-minute race, battle for 7th is definitely igniting, as John Tomlinson, for the first time really, is having to defend. Look at the way the Shepherd closes in the toe. Jinx to the inside. That was a really late move. Really surprised John Tomlinson there, who thankfully saw him coming. Left the door open with his contact on the exit. Off has John Tomlinson into the barriers. It looked as though that was going to be a really clean move. They just ran out of space on the exit of the corner, though. And unfortunately for Tom, in the barriers.
Yeah, really unfortunate stuff. You could just feel the contact being made there, and car got out of control. And unfortunately for Tomlinson, he is now dropping down the field. There is another close battle going on just up the road, and we've had another addition to this battle as well. Let's go and check back in with the Bridle Denyer battle, which is now Denyer, Bridle, and Julian Thomas as well. Julian Thomas just behind, making this a 3-way scrap, as here comes Bridle now trying to dive down the inside of Denyer into the opening corner. Contact made, and that's Denyer off into the gravel. Just a slight bit of contact there as Bridle made the move. Did get fully alongside, but there just didn't seem to be enough space for the two of them to get round in one piece. And Denyer now dropping back into 5th place, Andy.
Race Logic cars must have big targets painted on the back of them, because that's 2 of them that have just been fired off the track in half a lap, isn't it? Because John Tomlinson went off down at Hawthorne, and now poor old David Denyer at Paddock Hill Bend. But that was just an aggressive move from Chris Bridle there, and a valid one as well. That's one of the best places to overtake at Paddock Hill Bend. And unfortunately, a little bit of side-to-side contact made, but it hasn't delayed Denyer awfully. Still within a couple of seconds of these two now.
Move somewhere else, shall we, and check in with some of the other drivers and see what's going on a little bit further down. So we've got Jay Shepherd in 7th. John Tomlinson is in 8th. Why don't we go to John Eiley? He is in 9th place. We've got a battle for 9th going on here, Andy, as well.
Yeah, John Eiley with Stephen Fern not far behind him. So I think, I'm not sure whether Eiley has just gone past. I think he might have just overtaken Stephen Fern, because I seem to recall Stephen was running in 9th not long ago. But yeah, they come out of Surtees now with only a second or so between them. John Eiley is looking pretty rapid here, actually. He's slightly quicker than John Tomlinson at this stage. So yeah, John Eiley, who's only been in the points in one of the 3 races so far. I have to say, I can't remember whether he was with us for the first round back at Alton Park. I think he might have been, though. So he's had a rather inconsistent season so far. He'd love to get himself a bit further up inside the top 10. He's certainly gapping Stephen Fern pretty quickly. And he is only about 10.5 seconds or so behind John Tomlinson. Lots of dust. No, that's the Truman's car returning to its natural habitat, which is the barrier. That's the second time in the last lap and a bit that it's been off at this particular part of the circuit. And I think it's fair to say Johnny Hode, very rapid driver in the real world, is maybe just struggling to get to grips with that car, and had a few little moments over the first nearly 20 minutes of the race already. Worth pointing out as well, Chris, for those who are new to the series, that unlike a lot of other sim racing championships, it's not a fixed setup in these cars, is it? The drivers are allowed to tweak the setups if they like. So it may well be that some of the drivers who have less experience with the car and the Assetto Corsa sim as well. Maybe they haven't quite found the setup that best suits them just yet.
No, there's a lot to it, definitely. I imagine, I know Andrew will tell us this if he is able to jump in, but Riley does a lot of work on setup, and all the other drivers have to do exactly the same, because you can only practice so much. You can only get your car to the track so much, and when you get there, when you do a track day, there's a lot of red flags. So sometimes you get hardly any time in at all. You can do all day in this car on Assetto Corsa, and that means you can change the setups as many times as you want to. So unlimited setup time, unlimited track time is something everyone would love in racing. That's what you get in sim racing. So people will find the best setups they can. I learned a lot of things last week. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I learned a lot of things last week, but one thing I did learn is that people sell setups in sim racing as well. Up to $2,000 you can make from selling setups. So yeah,
that's some serious money can be made from making these cars go quickly. And one driver who I know has been throwing some interesting things at his setup is Richard Towler, and he's been doing some things to his car that a lot of people have said shouldn't work. They clearly are there, because he's going quickly enough to catch David Denyer. He then hit two clearways. So Richard Towler on board with him now. In fairness, he backed off going down the pit straight to let David Denyer back through, and now he's going to execute a clean overtake. So Towler into fifth position. But yeah, he did all of the hard work in catching David Denyer, went for a move on the inside into clearways, which is not a typical overtaking opportunity, and we saw why, because contact was made. Denyer did a really good job to save it, and Towler eventually, half a lap later, is able to do the job a bit more clean. But by backing off and letting Denyer back through, they've lost a good few seconds to Bridle and Thomas in front of them.
If I'm Julian Thomas now, I'm just going to let Richard Towler go and let him drag me up to Bridle and potentially Pierce Stockton as well. So I wouldn't be surprised here if Julian Thomas makes this very easy. There you can see he's pulling over, and Richard Towler is just going to go through now. So sensible driving that from Julian Thomas. He's thinking of the next 20 minutes of this race now, and without losing any time whatsoever, he's just let Richard Towler go, and now he can try and stay in the tow and let him drag him up to the back of Bridle.
Tell you what, that's twice in this race that we predicted something correctly. We're on a roll tonight. You're absolutely
there we go.
Didn't make life difficult at all for Richard Towler. And Julian's an experienced driver. He knows that. He's won the Funcup Championship a few times in the past with Race Logic, and really through an awful lot as a driver. He came into the team as almost the baby of the team, teammates with Nigel Greensall and Jochen Ritter, both of whom have had years and years of international race experience. And Julian was very much their protege. And this was, 8 years ago that they started working together, and over time Jochen left the team, Nigel left the team, but Julian stuck with them, and he is now Team Race Logic's team leader, and he leads that team with great wisdom, and he is a really great mentor for some of the new drivers that got racing with them now, people like John Tomlinson and David Denyer, to really learn from. And yeah, that was sensible stuff there from Julian Thomas, because now if he can stay with Richard Towler, they both have the potential to catch Ed Bridle, and they all have the potential to catch Pierce Stockton, who
we can see. If we go to Bridle now, we can see, looking back from him, that Towler is getting closer and closer. Thomas not too far back from that either. Bridle is keeping a good gap to Pierce Stockton, but just behind. It seems only a matter of time now before Towler catches. What does Bridle do? Let's try and get a third prediction in a row correct now here, Andy. Does Bridle do the same thing? Does he let Towler go?
What happened to Julian Thomas? David Denyer's gone past him. Julian Thomas is in the pit lane. Julian Thomas, that's big drama then. He was running in fifth position, just given that place away to Richard Towler a lap or so ago, and now he's in the pits with an obvious problem. I don't know what it might be, but unfortunately for Thomas, this is going to drop him further down the order.
That's a real shame.
No, it's been a bit of a race to forget for them, hasn't it, really? But that takes some of the pressure off Richard Towler to try and attack Chris Bridle, who told by Ed Bridle that he will not let him through. Ed has left a comment on the Twitch stream saying there's no way he's letting him through. So, I think we've got a race on our hands here. Richard Towler's going to have to work hard for this third place. And to be fair, you can see why Bridle wouldn't let him through, because, as I said, they are still catching Stockton, even with Bridle ahead. So why let him go? And Chris Bridle actually might have the pace to catch second place anyway. He's got his headlights on, which, as we know, is worth a good 0.3 of a second a lap, which is why the drivers insist on flashing headlights at drivers in front of them that they think they're quicker than. But they're absolutely nose to tail now as they come out of Stirling's corner. This is building up very nicely as we approach the final 15 minutes.
Yeah, we have got another battle going on a little bit further back with Steve Walton trying to catch John Eiley. So we'll check in with that after this. But we must stay with this for now because it is for a podium place. And here comes Towler. He's about to come down the inside. Now, does Bridle defend? No, he's going to let him go through, it seems, as well. So Towler goes through and Bridle has done exactly the same as what we saw Julian Thomas do earlier. And that is allow Richard Towler to go through and now get in the tow. So I can't remember what you said, Andy, but were you right? Was that 3 in a row? Or I don't even know if we gave an answer to that one. But anyway, our question has been answered. Towler allowed through, and now he's going to go after Pierce Stockton ahead. Of course, who is leading the race by some 18 seconds now. So he leads the way. All he has to do is stay on track, which sometimes is not an easy thing around Brands Hatch. And it's harder to go slower. So Riley's just going to be keeping up a consistent pace. And I'm told that he's going around 6 to 7 tenths faster than Pierce Stockton some laps, and I think he's 3 tenths quicker than anyone out there on circuit. Second place is Pierce Stockton, but for how long is the question, because not too far behind, within a second, there is Richard Towler in third place. Fourth place is Chris Bridle. I keep forgetting who's in the car. Of course, it is Chris. Ed did the 24-hour. David Denyer is in fifth place and is in a world of his own at the moment. In fifth, has some traffic to keep him company for a corner or so. John Tomlinson is in sixth place. Bit of an eventful race for him so far. Jay Shepherd, likewise, he is in seventh place. He has a chance to get sixth, though. He's trying to chase down John Tomlinson, so we'll keep an eye on that one as we get into the final 10 minutes. John Eiley is in eighth place. Steve Walton is in ninth place, and Julian Thomas is back out on track, and he is in 10th place. Maybe track cuts saw him come into the pits. Then we have Chris Hart. He is in 11th place. Not been a good race for him so far. John Hode is in 12th place coming into this with absolutely no practice. And Ed Worthington is in the pits. And that is a run through as we come up to the final 10 minutes, Andy.
Yep.
And there are no warnings left for Pierce, so he's got to be careful as it looks like it's about to kick off now as they come up towards Clearways here with just over 10 minutes remaining.
Richard Towler's on him now. He's forcing Stockton to drive defensively. That could slow Pierce down on the exit of the corner, but actually pretty equal off the turn. Towler's back in the tow again, though, and you can see visibly here the effect that slipstream has. There's no way that Pierce is giving him the inside line for Paddock Hill Benza. Towler goes to the outside into the right-hander. On the previous lap, he was 4 tenths of a second quicker. He can't go around the outside, cuts to the inside there. That was an absolutely textbook switchback manoeuvre. That's one of the best ways to overtake here at Brands Hatch. Force the driver in front to defend into Paddock, and then they'll run wide, but now running wide out of Druids is Towler. And he's off! Richard Towler, for the second time, is off the road. And this time he has hit the barriers. Stockton goes back through into second. Bridle goes back through into third. And Richard Towler down to fourth. Well, I didn't quite catch what happened. I'm imagining that was just one of those situations where coming off the corner, Stockton drifted out wide, just tagged Richard, and off into the barriers went Towler. But, wow, Richard so nearly had the job done. And now he's only got 9 minutes left to try and get himself not only back onto the tail of Pierce Stockton, but first of all, back ahead, Chris Bridle. And then he's got to try and catch Pierce Stockton again. But yeah, you're right. In theory, that he's got the time to do it. But this next overtake is crucial. He really needs to get past Bridle within the next lap or so. Otherwise, Pierce Stockton might just be too far up the road. I think these gaps are going to keep on coming down. Second, third, and fourth places. 5.5 minutes to go. Less than a second. Bring the three of them. This is Cup racing at its best.
It is. This is what we were talking about. The racing always gets that little bit closer. We have that little halftime interval where we had a great chat with Andrew. And now we are back to what is a classic Funcup race. As we can look back from Bridle here, we can see Towler not far away at all, and only half a second back from Pierce Stockton is the car that we are on board with. So this is going to be a fantastic final 5 minutes to this race now, as Towler is going to be desperate to get through as quickly as possible.
They're all together now as they head underneath the bridge into clearways once again. Running out of time, though, into the final 5 minutes. Chris Hart is just ahead of them to go another lap down as well, which will be the last thing that any one of these three drivers really wanted to see. They couldn't be any closer. Look at this. It's like a 12-wheel Funcup car coming across the start-finish line into Paddock Bend, and Bridle looks to the outside of Stockton. Towler didn't know where to go then. He was trying to go to the outside of Bridle, but Bridle was committing to a move on Stockton, and it's Towler that's quicker off Paddock Bend. He goes to the outside. They could be three abreast into Druids. There's not quite room for that, but Richard Towler has gone to the outside line. He's got some clear track ahead of him, and he should be able to pick up at least one of these positions. He has. He goes round the outside of Bridle and picks up third place. He had the inside line for Graham Hillbend if he needed it, but actually he'd driven ahead of Bridle before they got to the braking zone. Chris will, I'm sure, try and fight back here. He's almost pushing Richard into Surtees' corner. This battle ain't over yet.
No, really fantastic stuff, this. So that's one down. There is now one more to go here for Richard Towler. As we look back now from Pierce Stockton, there you can see Richard Towler, but there you can also see Bridle as well pulling out of the toe. Is he going to try and pull off a move here into Hawthorns? I think he's just trying to see whereabouts he is. He's got two cars ahead of him trying to find his braking zone. Here we are looking back from Pierce. We can see Richard Towler looking left, looking right. Can't quite find a way through. Richard going just a little bit wide, but Pierce doing likewise. And as you said, a great reference there. We've got a 12-wheeling Funcup car coming up towards Westfield Corner now. Fantastic stuff here in the Funcup Virtual UK series. So through Sheen Curve they go now and towards Sterling's. Fantastic stuff this. Pierce Stockton, it couldn't be any closer between these three with 3 minutes to go.
Ran wide there through Sterling's zone. That's compromised his exit. And so Towler's back alongside into clearways, takes the wide line in. He's setting up for the switchback, but what he didn't factor was Chris Bridle coming back up the inside. That so nearly worked for Towler. He was nearly into second, but he's ended up losing third again to Chris Bridle, who is back through, and now he's onto the tail of Pierce. Stockton goes to the inside into Paddock Bend, side by side for second place with only a couple of laps to go, and somehow Stockton hangs on. Bridle drifts wide, and here comes Richard Towler again. As soon as you go for a move, if it doesn't work, the risk is that the car behind you will take advantage, and that's what happened to both Bridle and Towler there. Twice within three corners, the middle car in this trio tried to make a move and actually ended up losing ground. So it's back to how you were now. Stockton second, Towler third, Chris Bridle in fourth place. But this battle, I think, Chris, is going to run right down to the checkered flag, because I don't think anyone's going to be able to escape from anybody else now. They're all pretty evenly matched. That slipstream is going to keep them right together, I think, until the fall of the checkered flag.
Yeah, when you get in this situation, you know, you can get away with being a couple of tenths slower a lap. That doesn't really matter. You can see Piers has just pulled away a little bit from Richard. He made a mistake there going through Surtees, but he'll make up for that now as they go down the straight. But now they are all back together once again. You can see Piers just running slightly wide there as Bridle in the background. He's almost, that's the worst place to be, at the back of the queue, because you've got to wait for the guy ahead to make a move. You know, if you make the move first and the guy at the head of the queue is going to get away, it's the easiest position to be where Pierce Stockton is, because he can either just defend from both cars. Being in the middle is always tricky. It's when you make your move for that second place now for Richard Towler as they come down towards the final corner. He's going to look to the outside here. Piers defending coming into the final corner. Bridle has just dropped away a little bit as Riley has gone on to the last lap. So this will be the last lap of the race now, Andy, and any one of these three could take second place.
It's another one of those Funcup races you don't really want to end, because this fight for second place, it may be going on the best part of half a minute behind the race leader, but it is absolutely enthralling. Richard Towler sideways again through Paddock Bend. He's going to lose that second place surely to Chris Bridle. There was a car parked to the side of the road there, which is not going to make the flag, but these three, well, hopefully they will all make the checkered flag in one piece. They are starting to get a bit scrappy. There are a couple of mistakes being made. Still, any one of these three drivers could come home in second place. Pierce Stockton finished second at Anglesey last time. He was third in the round before that at Snetterton as well. So he's on a good run here. Richard Towler, though, still trying to get himself back on the podium. He's up the inside of Chris Bridle. He's sideways, and this is absolute music to the ears of Pierce Stockton, who for the first time in the best part of 10 minutes is pulling away. He's for a second ahead of them now, because these two are really starting to delay each other. They're side by side again into Hawthorne. Bridle on the inside, defending and hanging on to third.
Yep, fantastic stuff. Bridle defending, just going round the outside. There was Towler, just a little bit of contact. And is that Towler going all the way round the outside? He's going to have to go round the outside here once again. And he think he's been able to do it. Yes, he has. So Bridle is going to be behind going into the final few corners. Bridle is going to try and go back up the inside. So what's this streak? Oh, there's Towler. He's off. A slight bit of contact. And that's going to be Bridle going into third. Up the road, Riley Phillips, he's come across the line. And he's going to take round 4 victory. Going back to Pierce Stockton in second place after that battling going on behind. He's coming around the final corner now, Andy, and it's been an eventful race, but I think he's just going to wrap up second.
Yeah, that battle going on behind him between Bridle and Towler has handed it to us. So for the third race in a row, Pierce Stockton's on the podium. Don't count him out for the championship at this rate. Chris Bridle comes home in third, and Richard Towler fourth. Well, I mean, you can try and go around the outside of one corner. That's brave. Go around the outside at 2 corners, it started to get quite risky. But honestly, trying to go around the outside in 3 consecutive corners is kind of asking for trouble. And I was amazed that they stayed off each other as long as they did. But finally, through Sheen Curve, there was contact, and Towler on the outside was always going to be the one that ended up in the gravel. And that's exactly what did happen. David Denyer has come home in 5th place, by the way. Jay Shepherd in 6th. John Eiley should be 7th. Julian Thomas 8th. And then Stephen Ferd and John Tomlinson. If I know John Tomlinson not running anymore, so Stephen Ferd might be the last car still running at the flag. Riley Phillips does celebratory donuts on the Grand Prix loop as the last couple of cars come through. And at the end, Chris, that's worked out rather nicely for Riley Phillips. He gets the race win, and Towler ends up 4th. And Richard will be massively frustrated at that, because it could so easily have been 2nd place. And actually, it ends up being 4th position. And that's the best part of 10 less points that he scored for 4th. He would have done for 2nd. So not a good day at the office for Richard Towler.
Not at all. I think it's time to go. Let's go straight.